You gotta understand, Kanan, that how people see you now is how they're gonna see you forever.
How you want people to see you, Kanan?
I want them to see me as me, not who my mother is.
Now there's one character in particular who we haven't gone into too much detail on since the beginning of season 4, and that's Kanan Stark. I think now's probably the perfect time as we watch him start to grow a lot more, start to become more independent, build his own operation, although it is still under Rock. I'm sure in episode 4 when we hear Snaps and Pop mentor him, we're gonna hear him mention he wants to come out of Rock's shadow, and I guess that's what he's eventually gonna aim for. Back in Power when he was released, we saw him making all these moves in the background, where he had Ghost entire operation ready to deliver to Felipe Lobos. He did something very similar under Jason Michich, while working with Tommy and Ghost. He was still plotting his own moves in the background. We're gonna see something very similar start in episode 4. The images do match up, the teasers match up, and it is time for Kanan to make his move, although I still don't think it is his time just yet. But we're gonna run through why, his story arc in terms of where we are at this moment in time, and why I feel like he's in for a lot more pain in season 4. Something I do think he needs to go through to really turn him from a pup into a wolf. Now I do actually want to start with the aftermath of Unique coming to Kanan's apartment at the end of 403. We saw Unique entering Kanan's apartment complex earlier on in the episode, which at the time, in my breakdown, I did say it has to be a red herring, and I still do believe it is. Because why would Unique later burst into Kanan's apartment and hold OC at gunpoint? I mean, to me, it just seems as if Unique was looking around maybe as if he wanted to rob the place. That's what I mentioned in my breakdown in 403. But what does he do with OC? What does he do next? How does Kanan react? I think it's very difficult to tell at this moment in time, because we don't know for sure what Unique's plan is. Is he really here to rob Kanan like I think he is? Because if he is, then it really is going to be a steep learning curve for him. A lesson that he actually had in season 2 when he was robbed by Freddy. But we need answers. We definitely need answers in terms of what Unique was doing here earlier on in the episode in 403. And when we learn about what happened with OC, I'm sure that definitely will give us our answer. But I personally don't believe Unique and Kanan are working together at all. But with that out the way, let's move on to him being mentored by Snaps and Pop. Now episode 4 is going to be the start of Kanan being mentored by Snaps and Pop. And recently I mentioned in my trailer breakdown for episode 4, it genuinely seems as if all Snaps and Pop see in Kanan is, this kid can make us a lot of money. He's Rock's son, he's ambitious, they've seen what he's done with his reefer business, and well, if you're the son of Rock and who they believe to be the son of Defcon Stark, this kid is definitely going to be something in Queens. And well, Wendell Pierce, who plays Snaps, recently mentioned how he just sees him as a revenue stream. Definitely just a stream of income at first. That's the first thing, that's the facts. People always say don't take it personally, it's just business. But I do see in him someone I'd like to catch before he makes mistakes. Love to have some sort of influence on him. That's why he's always giving him unsolicited advice. So in episode 4, we are going to see Snaps and Pop starting to mentor Kanan. We're going to see how Snaps and Pop see him as a revenue stream, but judging by these quotes, they're also going to take a real liking to Kanan, and someone they feel they can nurture to get on the right path. By the right path, I mean still in the streets, but less mistakes, less chaos. But they'll definitely be looking at him as a revenue stream at first. Now from Kanan's perspective, I do think he needs a couple of old heads to tell him maybe where he's going wrong, and generally just some advice when shit does go wrong, because in this game, just like we hear Snap saying, there are constant variables. There are things you can't predict, people making moves behind your back, and so much more. Just like Rock is beginning to find out in season 4, where she's being hit in every single direction. So having a couple of old heads who are seasoned gangsters, these guys have been around for a very long time. Kanan should definitely hear what they have to say, and definitely take it on board, not like he does with Crystal. Now one thing they will definitely put in his mind is the fact he will have to come out of Rock's shadow to become his own man. We've heard him mention in the official trailer, he wants to be known for who he is, not who his mother is, otherwise all he'll ever be known as is Rock's kid. How is anyone going to take Kanan seriously if he doesn't come out of his mom's shadow? Eventually he's going to have to find a way to kind of break free, which they definitely are planting the seeds for. You can see how he's more willing to listen to Snaps and Pop rather than when Rock offered help in 402. For example, when she offered to look at his books, his answer was pretty much a straight up no. That's because their relationship is way too complex because of what's happened before. But if you thought it was complicated prior to season 4, then them getting into a business relationship, oh, it definitely is only going to get worse.
Here you are, behind your mother's back.
We all heard what Rock said to Kanan in 402. It's one thing not being able to trust her son, she can live with that. but she has to be able to trust her business partner. Well, we are going to see Kanan approaching Stefano behind her back, which I have no doubt is going to be orchestrated through snaps and pop. There's no other way Kanan would be able to get the connection or a meeting with someone of Stefano's level. In fact, the only reason why Kanan's probably got into the room with someone like Stefano is because he's probably known as Rock's kid. Otherwise, what business does Stefano really have with a 17-year-old? So, with Kanan making these moves, even though I don't think he is going to be successful at this moment in time, I think Stefano is just going to see him as a kid. This is just going to make the relationship between Kanan and Rock even more complex, because the fact is, she really can't trust Kanan. If Kanan's making these moves behind her back, Kanan can't be trusted. However, having said that, I think we definitely know it goes both ways. Rock isn't to be trusted either. We know what she's done before, and we can never rule out any more fucked up ideas Rock has going forward, which is where I want to come to Kanan's relationship with Crystal. Now, I've said this before, they are giving Crystal way too much screen time. Something is bound to happen with Crystal in season 4. I think when we look at Kanan's character in terms of what he's been through, he definitely has been through a lot. He definitely has been through a lot more than the average teenager, but he really hasn't lost too many people. Sure, he lost D-Wiz in season 1. He's also lost Detective Howard, although there wasn't much of a relationship here anyway, but he hasn't really felt that pain of losing a loved one like Jukebox has. We haven't really seen him break like Jukebox has, although there is a scene which we haven't seen yet where we will see him break, which makes us all ask the question, will he lose Crystal at some point in season 4? I do think he has to. I mean, it is unfortunate to say, but it is what it is. The game is the game, and to turn Kanan from that pup into a wolf, Crystal is gonna have to go. I just think the question is, how? Why? Who's gonna be involved? Previously on Power, we've seen moves with Ghost trying to pay Holly to leave. Could we see Rock doing something very similar? Could Rock be involved? Could Jukebox be involved? Or could she get caught in the world Kanan is now involved in? They can really do it in a number of ways. They can keep us guessing. The only thing we can speculate at this moment in time is how would it affect Kanan? Like we said before, you have to turn him from a pup into a wolf, and this is definitely one way you can do that. Take Crystal away, take Famous, take OC, take these people away and make him feel that pain, because that's the only way he's going to turn into that stone, ice-cold killer. Now personally, I would love for Rock to be involved, because we did see that little interaction between her and Crystal, and maybe they were setting up for something for a bit later on. It also gives another reason for Kanan to drift further away from Rock. And if the theory also does prove to be true in terms of Marvin being the one to get rid of Famous in a flashback, that's another thing that could definitely chip away at this relationship with the Thomases. Jukebox being involved, I guess they have to give this backstory in terms of why their relationship was the way it was back in Power. At this moment in time, there's still a lot of love between them. We saw it in 403, but I definitely think there will be moments that also change this as well. Let's see if she is involved if anything happens to Crystal, because we know there's no love lost here. So going forward, I do think Kanan has to feel a lot of pain. He's going to lose his grandma Joyce Thomas. I do think he'll also lose Crystal. Hopefully we find out what happened to Famous. I do think he's dead already. I went through a theory of how Marvin may have even used Stefano's furnace to get rid of the body. But going forward, he's going to have to really feel it to really turn. So that's where we are with Kanan Stark at this moment in time, after episode 403, and where his character seems to be heading in the short term in season 4. I do think Snaps and Pop are going to play a really key role in terms of shaping Kanan and also pulling him further away from Rock. But I also feel he does need to feel a lot more pain, a lot more heartbreaks and setbacks to really turn into the vicious monster we saw in Power. He was someone who had zero remorse. The old lady kill was just, I mean, that really was something else. And who knows, would he really have done something with Dre's daughter? But throughout the next 2 seasons of Raising Kanan, that's if there isn't a season 6 that follows. In the next 2 seasons and Power Origins, they're gonna have to get us closer to the Kanan we saw on Power. But drop all your thoughts down below on all things Kanan Stark. What do you think his next few moves are? And if he is to lose Crystal, Famous and OC, maybe a few others, how does he react and who does he blame? And who could be behind their deaths if they do happen? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.